friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm back in my house, and it's so nice to be here. Anyways, you guys left me a bunch of great questions here at WrestleJuice, so we're going to go ahead and answer a bunch of them. First up, a lot of your questions have to do with this, the alleged discord backstage to AEW. All Things Mario says, do you think AEW is overdoing the whole work-shoot nature of things? Like, it's always great to make the audience believe things are real for intrigue purposes, but it comes at the cost of media criticism and backstage conflicts like we've seen. If it's hurting at all the real-life relationships, working and professionally and personally, then I think doing the work-shoot thing is just not a good idea. I'll give you an example. Right now, the rumor is that Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter don't like Thunder Rosa. And they accuse her of being unprofessional, or they think that she's unprofessional because she broke Jamie Hayter's nose. When they bring up the nature of that relationship on TV, for example, when Britt Baker produces a sandbag, number one, when that happened, it was kind of confusing. So Britt Baker showed up during an interview with Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm, and then they were like, oh, hey, you know what helps with a thunderstorm? A sandbag. And the idea was Thunder Rosa being unprofessional, sandbags her opponents. And then Thunder Rosa sort of ran with it and had like a sandbag shirt of some sort. I don't know what it was. It was just kind of confusing as just a viewer. I was like, I don't get it. Like, I know that you're like doing a wink and a nod thing, but like, it didn't help the story. It doesn't help anything. And then when it seemingly just adds fuel to whatever fire is going on backstage, it doesn't help anything. Same thing with CM Punk calling out Hangman Adam Page. If you're not helping the story on the screen, why are you doing it? It's the Vince McMahon thing. Vince McMahon would always punish people by putting them in ridiculous things on camera. That was just confusing. And it was like, why are you doing this? Like, it doesn't benefit the story that's going on camera. Now, if you can find a way that something happens backstage and it's so, out there in the open that you can't that you decide to make some money off it and everybody involved is okay with it and everybody is cool with it. Like, from what I understand, the Matt Hardy Edge stuff back in 2005 when Lita was involved, by the time they brought Matt Hardy back for that story, things were cool between them. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that's what Matt Hardy had said subsequently. And so they were able to make money off of a real life situation. It was probably really awkward for everybody involved. In fact, I think everybody has said as such, but they were all cool with it. And so they went ahead and made money off it. To me, that's like, okay, that works. Everybody knows what's going on. Now they're going to add this intriguing angle. That's fine. When things are actively going on backstage and it causes the viewer to get out of, it removes them from the story that's happening in front of you, it's just unprofessional. It just doesn't make any sense to the viewer at home. Like, why is he calling out Hangman Adam Page? They're not in a feud right now. That doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, the long story short here, I don't think they do it too much. I just think that they need to maybe go against their instincts. Tony Khan needs to say, no, we're not going to go there because I don't think things are good between you guys. And we're going to keep things sort of on the storyline level, not diving into the backstage drama of stuff. Let's move on here. Curse of the Moon says there's been a lot of talk about which released wrestlers should come back to WWE, but what legends would you like to see return in a management or on-screen personality role? Curse of the Moon brings up Booker T. I think that's a phenomenal name. I think Booker T backstage would be great if he was interested. I think I really like Booker T on commentary. I thought he was really good. I was sad when he left. So yeah, that's as good a name as any. I'm trying to think of others, but I kind of can't off the top of my head. Devin Morton says, now that Mox is finally undisputed champion, how long should he hold it for? Who would you like to see him feud with? And who do you think he should eventually dethrone? Who do you think should eventually dethrone him for it? I kind of feel like Punk's going to beat him at All Out by being a bad guy, by being a heel. That's what makes the most sense to me. There's no way they could conceivably have CM Punk beat Mox as still a good guy, not cheating. Punk has to cheat to win. Mox completely annihilated him at Dynamite. So at this point, Punk has to he's got a sheet to win, and they're in Chicago, and I think Punk is probably going to win there. And it doesn't really hurt Mox that much because he's already had a really lengthy world title reign. He was a successful interim champion. Yes, this will only last 2 weeks, but it's Mox. Like he'll be totally fine, and it might add some intrigue. I've always been a proponent of a little bit of hot potatoing of the title if it can add some drama and intrigue. Survivor 1993 says, with a supposed drama around AEW as of late and WWE genuinely improving since Triple H took over, do you think independent wrestlers are more likely to sign with WWE over AEW? Why or why not? Yes, I do at this point. I do. I think Triple H has seen over the past 7 years, I think he has developed a reputation for having an appreciation for independent wrestlers who build their brand on the independent scene. I think that recruiting process is going to come back. And yes, at this point, I do think that if you can have a better creative collaborative environment in your, when you move up in the wrestling world and be on the biggest stage, I think WWE is a very attractive prospect for independent wrestlers at this point, maybe even more so than AEW, and that was not the case as of, a couple months ago. Braden Loader says, with so many champions in AEW vacating titles due to injury, do you think it's about time they stop calling the new holder interim champion, just award them the actual championship? No, I think they should do it on a case-by-case basis. Thunder Rosa has claimed that she's only going to be out for a couple months. CM Punk was out for only a couple months. I'm fine with the interim championship. Once they come back, they can fight for it. It's a built-in story. I'm totally cool with the interim championship thing. Shavon says, with Sami Zayn on a forge of a face turn with Sami Zayn about to have a face turn and Johnny Gargano returning, which one of these two would it be believable underdog to win a world title? Sami Zayn beating Roman Reigns would blow the roof off the building. It really would. Now that I'm not sure that that's the route they want to go, as opposed to having somebody that's more built for the future, like an Austin Theory beating Roman Reigns. That's probably where Triple H is going to want to go. In which case, there is, I guess, the better case could be made for Gargano. I don't think it's going to be either of them, but I think Sami Zayn would absolutely blow the roof off the building. I personally would love to see it. I think it'd be a ballsy move. I don't think they'd do it, though. Shining Revolution with NXT World... That, by the way, saying that, Gargano could totally be another Daniel Bryan. Shining Revolution says, with NXT Worlds Collide, who do you think might be the most likely candidate to win each of the title unification matches? For example, Braun Breaker versus Tyler Bate for the NXT title. Braun Breaker is going to win that 1,000%. Mandy Rose versus Blair Davenport versus Mako Satomura. I hope and I think Mako is going to win that. And then we're going to get Creed Brothers, Gallus, Briggs and Jensen, and Pretty Deadly. And I get the feeling that Creed Brothers are going to retain there. Red Dragon, is there anything about Vince's direction that you miss or think could be missed under Triple H's direction? I saw this question. I tried to come up with something of Vince McMahon's that I would miss, but Triple H does all the things that Vince McMahon did that were good. He's still doing them. There's nothing that's missing from the product now that Vince did that Triple H took away that was a good thing. So I'm going to say no. There's nothing about Vince's direction that I miss that's gone. Tyler Warden says, where would you like to see Dexter Lumis's story go? I love the fella, and Index is awesome. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to see it go. In order to flesh out his character, Indy Hartwell is sort of necessary to be on main roster. He got arrested on NXT 2.0. I thoroughly expect to see Indy Hartwell on main roster, probably on Raw, advocating for Dexter Lumis. There's some connection to AJ Styles there, and I don't know what it is, but maybe she'll make an appeal to AJ Styles and say, hey, I need you to help me get this guy out of jail. He was trying to help you. I don't know. That's all I can think. I really don't, but I'd like to see some movement there. I think it'd be great. Azar Musa says, do you think New Japan made the wrong decision by giving Okada the G1, or do you think it was the right decision considering the Wrestle Kingdom main event would have been a foreigner versus a foreigner? I don't think that the foreigner versus foreigner thing necessarily would be a problem. I'm not as tuned into New Japan as I'd like to be. However, trying to put myself in the shoes of like a diehard New Japan fan, I might be like, okay, this is Lol Okada wins territory. I'm not sure I would appreciate having another Okada G1 win. But at the same time, I'm not in those shoes, so I can't really say if that's the case or not. I did think that it was, me and Larson and Karen Peterson of Post Wrestling and numerous other outlets. She's a huge New Japan fan and an expert on pretty much all things Japanese wrestling. Talked about the G1 we did a preview video for it, and it was her assumption, her belief that they were telling a story for Tetsuya Naito to win, and it seemed like they were doing that the entire time, and then they had Okada win instead. And I thought that the story that they had laid out for a couple other wrestlers, including Naito, seemed stronger for a G1 win than Okada. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of a thing where it's like, oh yeah, it's Okada, he's going to win. I think maybe they could have gone a different route, but again, I'm not like a diehard New Japan guy who pays attention to everything they do. Nick Kyle says, which pay-per-view will have the most success on the weekend of September 3rd and 4th? Clash at the Castle, Worlds Collide are all out. Well, Worlds Collide I'm looking forward to, but I don't think it's going to be even nearly close to the success of All Out or Clash at the Castle. I don't really know what you mean by success. In terms of being the best pay, the one I'm looking forward to most is actually Clash at the Castle, because it's probably going to be a 3-hour show. All Out's going to be a 6-hour show, and we're just sort of now getting a fix on what the matches are going to be. I am really curious about that title match at All Out, but again, 6-hour pay-per-views are just a lot to sit through. They really are, and then we do a recap right afterwards. So Clash at the Castle, I'm really looking forward to seeing that UK crowd sort of explode. I want to see what kind of creative splash Triple H makes there in the UK. I think it could be a lot of fun. That being said, All Out's going to be a great pay-per-view. It always is. Let's see here. Moving on, Uncle Drew asks, with Thunder Rosa vacating the AEW World Championship, who do you think should be the next one to get it? I think it's Tony Storm. The story going around is that Tony Storm is supposed to win at the pay-per-view anyways, so I think it should be Tony Storm. Although a good case can be made for Hikaru Shida picking it up again. Let's see here. Alexander Smith, do you think Tony Khan's starting to lose control of AEW? I think that's a bit dramatic to say. I think this is something that was probably necessary to happen for him to understand the dynamics of a pro wrestling roster, of having a deep pro wrestling roster with a couple of really high paid guys who are known to have egos, CM Punk. And I feel like him figuring out how to sort of maneuver those dynamics is something that was inevitable and something that's necessary, and hopefully something that just makes that company better. Hopefully he learns from it, and hopefully everybody in the company understands now, hey, this is the kind of environment we can get used to, and hopefully that's a positive one. But no, I don't think he's starting to lose control. I mean, it's his company, and from all accounts, the buck does stop with him. He has no problem suspending people. He's got no problems trying to enforce some accountability, and that's necessary. Can't have him being locked in a closet like Eric Bischoff was. Marvell says, is your Wrestler of the Year race now scattered since strong recent runs from Mox and Speedball Mike Bailey, since before you were very sure it was going to be FTR? Yes. Depending on what FTR does these last couple months, it's probably Mox's to lose in terms of being Wrestler of the Year. It's probably going to be Mox, but FTR also has probably the two highest rated matches, like the two best matches of the year. If their entire run throughout the year was closer to like the first half of the year, then yeah, but like there's no, they don't do any Ring of Honor shows now. So, they're not AEW champions. Although if they have a killer end of the year, I forget if like the tag league, the New Japan's tag league, when that is. I don't know. FTR still has some time to sort of make a good case for themselves, but I get the feeling that because FTR, they didn't win they're not in contention for the AEW tag championships, I'd have a hard time. Like there was some universe out there where FTR versus Young Bucks main evented All Out, or will main event All Out. If FTR did that and won, it's probably be theirs, Wrestler of the Year. But I think at this point it's Mox. Blake Whitehouse, do you think Tony Khan giving his wrestlers more creative freedom is a big reason why there's so many rumors regarding a lot of wrestlers being difficult to work with or having attitude issues? I don't think that needs to be the case. I don't think that because he gives his wrestlers creative freedom. Again, the word going around is that he takes suggestions, but he shoots down ideas that he doesn't like and he approves ideas that he does like. I don't think that has to be part of the recipe of discontent in the locker room. I don't think that has to be the case. So I'm going to say no there. But exactly what is the issue? I don't know. It seems like he needs to learn how to conflict manage better. Josh Perez says, with Tony not booking his women's division very well and him only showcasing one women's champion while pushing the other to the side during her reign, was making a secondary title for the division a bad move on Tony's part, seeing as how he doesn't book the division strong enough or give it enough time weekly to warrant a second title. Sort of a catch-22 here, isn't it? He doesn't treat women's wrestling the way he really should. He treats it as sort of an obligation and not something that he wants to feature. And so because of that, should he have not done a second title? No. I think he should just treat women's wrestling the way Impact does, the way WWE does. Make it a featured thing and justify the existence of that second title, that TBS title. I think that's sort of it. I don't think that it's like you should pare down the titles. You should be less ambitious because he's not ambitious with his women's division. He should simply just be more ambitious with his women's division, and that's kind of it. So there you go. Let's see here. Why do we have one last one here? Oh, this is good. Big Bopper says, who is the sweatiest? That's Shane McMahon. He's the sweatiest. Like, if we're talking wrestlers, I'm pretty sure he's like the sweaty. That dude, he sweats before he even hits the ring. Very sweaty guy. I'm very sweaty too. I'm a profuse sweater. I'm not sweaty now, but usually when I'm active, it doesn't take much for me to sweat a lot. There's some info. There's some inside info for you. Anyways, a bunch of great questions. I did answer some of them in text form. I did type out some answers in text form. So be sure to check that community thread if you didn't see it here on the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. Check out this video right here. We'll see you over there.